Today I'm going to paint a seashell.
Hi friends, I'm Olga Koelsch, watercolor artist, teacher and a book author. Welcome to my studio.
I found this shell on the beach. I like that it has the different hues of green, orange, beautiful one, as they all. Let's draw. I will paint it a bit bigger than it is, so we can go a little bit more into details. Edge. What's important, what will be very helpful for us if we set up a couple of those rows, that will help us to set up the shape, and the shape is round, so these rows, they should be round, they are closer on the top, and they got more far away from each other once they reach the edge of the seashell. But this I can lighten up pencil marks with kneadable eraser. Firstly, I glaze the shape of the shell just with clean water, and I try to distribute it evenly, avoiding puddles. I have my very beautiful peach pink paints like maple yellow, raw sienna. They will also great raw sienna, for example, just a bit. I will create the initial layer, especially painting more in these deepening parts. A bit on the top. It should be, the first layer should be very light. Find where you will have most of the accents. I think the top is pretty bright and the left part. So I will add a bit more of color onto those parts and leave mostly untouched the other part. I have another brush, it's just clean damp brush. So from top to bottom, and I drag down some of those brownish paints. The paper is still wet. It will allow me to add accents, those greenish accents, turquoise. I will use just a bit of turquoise right here on this part. Whatever you can do, all these big shapes, big color spots on wet, try to make them wet in wet. I also see some very deep orange. I will add burnt sienna to this left part. And of course you can be creative and add things there you might not see them. That part, the right part, feels a bit colder. I will add a bit of ultramarine blue, especially to the bottom. So everything you can add, big shapes you can add while your paper is wet. Just go ahead and play around and enjoy how it all mixes, flows. Some accents. Difficult to stop. You can also drag down again a bit more of long lines from top to bottom. And once you're done, you need to dry everything completely. So now my paper is dry. I'm going to paint these long lines. I have burnt sienna. I will mix it with ultramarine blue I already have on my plate. So something neutral brown, small brush, and with the tip of the brush I create those long rows. This is more natural for our hand to paint like this, therefore I can turn a piece of paper and they'll help me to create those rounded lines easier. I always try to remix a little bit the hues, just for the variety. Try to move your hand confident and quick, and if there's some spots left, that doesn't matter. At some point it might be nice to turn back. A little bit different structure in the other corner. So always remixing different hues. A bit more blue, a bit more gray. Now let's add this row. It will be ultramarine blue mixed with burnt sienna. See this nice muted. Place my brush a little bit more into parallel with the paper, and I slide in my brush. Once I feel my brush is empty, I reload my brush, and I find a nice spot where I can start again. And again. And it's nice that sometimes your brush strokes, they are very uneven. Sometimes they more bold. That all brings their variety. Some brush strokes with the tip of the brush, remix it with a bit more of ultramarine blue, and then can add a bit more. And add all those elements, trying to recreate the shape you painted with bold. Mix, but again, think about variety, always variety. A bit of different paints, a bit of different mixes. Not boring, very subtle line. On one side, a bit of bolder line on the other side. Basically, I'm not looking onto my shell. I look at what I'm painting, and that usually tells me where I can add something else. For example, I see these nice turquoise, subtle brush strokes, bolder brush strokes, a little bit on the upper part. Turquoise I like a lot. I think I can add. Of course, we can add a small shadow underneath. I will use whatever I have here. A bit more of ultramarine blue, so some grayish. Mix the light. As you see, it comes from the top right. That will create just a very subtle, delicate shadow underneath the shell from around this part. And then I wash my brush and soften the edge of the shadow. And it should all flow somewhere. And our seashell is ready.
Thank you so much for painting with me. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you learned something new. Please let me know in comments what would you like to paint next, and see you soon. Bye bye.